I'm a 29-year-old guy, my wife is 26, and her closest friend is 28. I'm not trying to paint myself as the bad guy in anyone's tale. I keep circling back, wondering if I'm overreacting or missing something. But my home doesn't feel like mine anymore. It's like I'm a tenant in a space where two people see me as the issue. This is messy, and I'm using a throwaway account because my wife sometimes browses Reddit. Bear with me, it's going to be a long one. When I try to pinpoint where it all unraveled, my mind snags on small things. The lid of my body wash not screwed on right, or the faint hum our TV makes when someone switches inputs after binge-watching shows all night. These tiny irritations pile up until you're worn down without noticing. The story starts when my wife's best friend showed up after splitting with her boyfriend of 2 years. I'd met him a few times, not my kind of person, but not a villain either. They'd been rocky for a while. She arrived at our doorstep with a duffel bag and a backpack, my wife wrapping her in a tearful hug. I stood there thinking, okay, we can't let someone we care about be stranded. Just a few days, my wife whispered later in the kitchen like we were plotting something sweet. I nodded, thinking a few days was doable. I want to be clear, I tried to set boundaries. Not right away because I'm not heartless. She was a mess and I got it. I brewed her tea, offered food. She said she wasn't hungry, then ate 4 slices of pizza and passed out on the couch with a home renovation show blaring. I cleared the plates and draped a throw over her. But days stretched into a week, then 2, and I started feeling like a shadow in my own space, unsure where kindness ends and being a pushover begins. I'd come home from work to an unlocked front door, something I'm strict about from how I was raised, and find shoes scattered, a hoodie slung over a dining chair, a half-eaten burger on a plate with ketchup congealing. I'd hear her giggling on the phone in our living room, sprawled across the sofa in a blanket, remote in hand, watching some show about flipping houses. She'd be in, well, not much. Think underwear and one of my wife's flimsy tees, no bra, with a glass of rosé leaving rings on our coffee table. I'd say hi, she'd grin back, and the TV volume would creep up. I'm not uptight, but it made me uneasy. I don't want to dictate anyone's wardrobe, but I also don't want someone who's not my spouse wandering my house half-dressed, leaving bras on the bathroom tiles, or worse, the kitchen counter where we prep meals. I raised it with my wife carefully, saying, I know she's struggling, but can we plan for when she moves on? My wife's face hardened. She called me insensitive, said her friend was in crisis, and asked why I couldn't be more understanding. I pointed out that when I stayed with friends, I tidied up and didn't parade around in boxers in front of their partners. She shot me a look like I'd slapped her, saying, she's like family, why are you making it weird? That stung because I wasn't. I just wanted some boundaries, maybe a bathrobe. I even offered to buy one, but my wife called me overbearing. I dropped it to avoid a fight, hoping her friend would get back on her feet. But the little things kept piling up. My aftershave, a thoughtful gift from my wife, dwindling fast, my conditioner vanishing at double speed, a new toothbrush gone from the pack, my earbuds moved from their spot. I asked my wife and she brushed it off. It's just things, she needed them. Can you be generous? I told myself to relax, but it felt like my consent was assumed and my objections were ignored. I started hiding out in our bedroom because the living room was always occupied. My coworkers teased me about knowing the drama of every reality show cast, even though I never chose to watch them. I planned a movie night with my wife to reclaim some time together, but she invited her friend, saying she shouldn't be left alone. So we 3 watched a rom-com, and I felt like I was suffocating. The breaking point came one morning when I stepped out of the shower and nearly slipped on a pair of lacy underwear left on the bath mat. I scooped them up with a towel like they were toxic, hung them on the guest room knob, and texted my wife that we needed to talk. She sent a smiley and said, be kind. The final straw was worse. I took a sick day because of a nagging headache and just wanted silence. I shuffled to the kitchen for a snack and heard the TV and something else. I won't spell it out, but it wasn't just TV noise. Like an idiot, I looked, and there she was on our couch, barely covered, doing something very personal. I said her name. She yelped, yanked up the blanket, and screamed at me for creeping around my own house. I went numb and said, you're out by the weekend. I'll help you find a place or pay for a hotel, but you're done here. She cried, but it was angry tears like I'd wronged her. She called my wife, who called me furious with her friend in the background egging her on. My wife said I was shaming her friend, that I had no right to speak to her like that. I didn't shout. I repeated, by the weekend, 3 times. That night, my wife came home late and went straight to the guest room, closing the door. I sat in our bedroom, feeling like an intruder. That's what I originally wanted to ask. Am I wrong for wanting my home back? Am I the jerk here? Update, she moved out. I held firm on the deadline and paid for a week at a budget hotel because I didn't want her homeless. She took it, but called me cruel and controlling for evicting someone in distress. I don't feel that's true, but I'm not a jury. My wife was distant for days, passing each other like strangers, speaking only in stilted bursts like, "Did you lock the door?" We don't even have a pet to feed, but I asked something like that once. That's how rattled I was. We laughed for a second, then stopped. I thought with her friend gone, we'd find our rhythm again, pictured quiet evenings, just us, dinner, a silly movie, holding hands. But it was like expecting solid ground and finding a cliff. 3 days after the friend left, my wife came home, face blank, and said we needed to talk. She showed me photos on her phone, me at lunch with my coworker, a 25-year-old woman. My wife's always been touchy about her, not because of me, but because she's attractive, single, and laughs at my work jokes. My wife once said her glances made her feel insecure, and I promised to keep things strictly professional, which I have. The photos showed us at an outdoor cafe, laughing, sunlight everywhere. What's cropped out is that 2 male coworkers were inside ordering food. It looked like a date. My wife zoomed in, saying, "Look at how you're smiling at her." I explained we were laughing about how the birds waddled like old folks. It sounds dumb when someone's already decided you're guilty. She said, "You're sneaking around," and I asked, "How did you get these?" She showed me a message from her friend who happened to be nearby and caught me cheating. So now I'm the bad guy for both kicking her friend out and cheating, which I didn't do. I showed her the group chat where the guys confirmed they were there. She wouldn't look, like the texts were poisoned. She kept saying, "I have proof," like photos trump everything. I slept on the couch, unable to share a bed with someone so sure I was awful. She cried in the bathroom. I sat in the dark, trying not to think about what else happened on that couch. I barely slept. Update 2, I hoped time would calm things, but it escalated. My wife fully trusts her friend. I showed her call logs, texts, offered my phone. We called my coworker on speaker. She sounded shaken and angry, confirming it was a group lunch. My wife snapped, "You'd say that," and hung up. She said I smelled different after work, which baffled me. I used the same cologne, and mostly I smell like office coffee. She claimed her friend saw me texting my coworker late at night while she lived with us. I'm in bed by 10 most nights. I'm not that exciting. Then she used gaslighting, and I felt like I was losing my grip on reality because that's what I was experiencing. She slept in the guest room, then went to her parents to think. She blocked me, unblocked me, and said she'd consulted a divorce lawyer. I suggested counseling. She refused, saying I'd twist the therapist. I said I loved her and didn't cheat. She said, "You would say that." I was unraveling. At work, I gave my boss a vague version of events. He was sympathetic, but I could feel colleagues' side glances. My coworker's distant now, understandably, who wants to be accused of an affair. My wife filed for legal separation. We only communicate through her lawyer now, no texts, just documents. I keep replaying it, thinking if I'd handled the friend's exit differently, maybe this wouldn't have happened. If I hadn't walked in that day or shrugged off the underwear, maybe we'd be okay. It doesn't feel fair, but my brain wants to take blame because it's something to control in this chaos. Update 3. My wife filed for divorce, demanding half of everything, including the house I owned before we met. My lawyer says separate property should hold, but courts can be unpredictable, and I don't want to get into legal specifics to avoid doxing myself. It feels wrong to haggle over assets when I just want my marriage not to end over a lie. The friends spreading stories to my wife's circle, claiming I've been unfaithful for years. She told my wife's aunt she feels guilty for not speaking up sooner, which is absurd since there's nothing to confess. The rumor hit my workplace. HR called me in over concerns about inappropriate relationships. My coworker was dragged into it too, and I felt awful. She told HR nothing ever happened, her voice sharp with frustration. She looked at me like I was a house on fire she couldn't save. I apologized for the mess touching her life. She said, "I know. She's done nothing wrong but had to defend herself." I went home and broke down, full gasping sobs. My wife's sister reached out. "We're not super close, but we've always been cool." She said she's skeptical of the story, noting the timing. Friend gets asked to leave, then suddenly catches me cheating. She tried talking to my wife, but my wife's not listening. It's a relief someone sees it, but it doesn't fix my wife's belief. Then another of my wife's friends, not the best friend, sent me screenshots of texts from the friend. In them, she brags about opening my wife's eyes, calling her gullible and saying she needed to stand up for herself. She admitted to wanting to end our oppressive marriage, calling me controlling for asking her to leave, for telling her to buy her own shampoo, for suggesting a robe. She mocked my fancy body wash and said, "He flipped out over soap," she wrote. "Once he kicked me out, I had to act, or wife would crawl back to him like a puppy." About the photos, she said she got the perfect shot of me and my coworker. When asked if we were alone, she replied, "Who cares? It looks like it." I sent the screenshots to my lawyer. I hesitated to share them with my wife, terrified she'd claim they were fake. I don't have the skills or desire to forge anything. Update 4, I sent the screenshots to my wife with a short message. "I didn't cheat. Your friend lied. This is all I can show you." She didn't reply for hours, which felt like years. When she called, she was sobbing, saying, "I'm so sorry," over and over. She asked to come over. I said yes, but texted my lawyer to document it. She sat on the far end of the couch, words tumbling out, apologies, fragments like, "I broke us." I didn't question her. She said she'd blocked her friend everywhere. Her parents, who'd called me a creep months ago, each phoned to apologize, admitting they should have asked questions. I'm glad they see it, but I'm drained to my core. My wife said she'd halt the divorce and begged for counseling, saying she'd do anything. I believe she meant it, standing in the rubble of our life. I asked why she didn't verify anything before torching us. She said she doesn't know, maybe the most honest and devastating answer. She admitted her friend was her anchor since childhood and she leaned on her to avoid being alone. I said, "I asked you to think with me." She cried harder. Here's the part I hate admitting. I don't know if I can move past this. I can't unsee her treating me like a stranger in our home, calling me manipulative to her lawyer, refusing counseling until the lie collapsed. I can't look at a photo of myself eating lunch without my pulse racing. It's like I've been drowning, finally surfaced, and now I'm supposed to dive back in, trusting no one will hold me under. She came over twice more. The second time, she brought a box of gifts I'd given her, trying to return them like it'd make it easier for me to reject her. I told her to keep them. I'm not erasing our past. We sat at the table, held hands, cried, but it didn't tell me what to do. She asked if there's a way forward. I said I don't know, meaning it, though part of me might mean no but can't say it yet. I hate that. Edit, some urge me to take her back, saying she was manipulated, others say run. Both feel deafening. I don't know what to do. Final update 2 years later. People keep messaging, so here's the end, messy as it is. I went through with the divorce. We tried counseling for months, sitting in a room with a tissue box. Some sessions felt hopeful. She admitted she chose her friend's certainty over grappling with doubt about me. I admitted I felt like a product she returned on a whim. We learned to argue better, set rules like me texting her my lunch plans, even if I shouldn't have to. But I kept stumbling over the fact that she had the chance to pause and instead accelerated. It's not just that she believed a lie. Humans do that. It's that she wouldn't look at me long enough to hear my truth. She burned our life down and only grabbed a hose when her friend slipped up. We parted cleanly. The house stayed mine, premarital property, and a sharp lawyer helped, maybe one small win in a sea of losses. She took the couch, I let her. I bought a new one, hideous but mine. Her parents sent a letter I haven't answered. I have my quiet weekends, my locked door, the click I like. I started jogging, actual pavement pounding, lungs burning in a good way. I'm not with my coworker, for those wondering. We're friendly again. She's got a boyfriend and a goofy dog that makes me grin. I met a woman at a cafe who also laughed at how pigeons strut like old guys, a weird echo of that lunch. We get coffee sometimes. I'm not diving in. This isn't a comeback story, just life, moving forward whether I'm ready or not. My takeaway: listen when someone shows you who they are, but also watch when they decide who you are. If the latter wins too easily, that's a warning. I loved my wife, and I think she loved me, but she loved her friend's validation more than questioning a story that didn't fit. That's not evil, it's human, but it's not something I can live with. I hope she's okay. I hope I am. I'm not here to rally anyone, just setting down this weight because I'm tired and the world doesn't stop when you do.